Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Hey, it's the NFL Guys podcast, and we are going to review Week 7 in the NFL. Let me tell you, it was a catastrophe for a lot of teams and for the Bears and everything. And oh my God, I just want to bang my head against the wall after trying to sum up what I watched on Sunday night or Sunday, not Sunday night, but Sunday afternoon against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and I I just anyway, we'll get to that soon. I'm gonna check in with Jimmy Baba Ganoush and Johnny Baba Ganoush. How did you guys do on this week's fantasy football teams? Did you guys win? Were you excited that you won on your teams, or did you lose? I heard you guys lost like you guys both did 8 teams. I heard you only won on 7, or you only won on one game. Like what? Like you won on one team out of 8. Both of you. What are you both feeling?
That was terrible!
Horrendous!
I'm offended!
I'm appalled!
Oh wow, yeah, I would too. I would too. I've been in there. I've been there where I've only won on two teams for the week. Yeah, it's frustrating. So anyway, let's look at my week 7 picks. Well, I went 8-5 this week, which isn't great, but it's not bad. The teams I did win on, well, I won on the Packers. Wait, no, yeah, I won on the Packers. I won on the Falcons game. I won on the Patriots game. I won on the Rams game. I won on the Buccaneers game, the Cardinals, the Colts, and the Saints. But I lost on the Broncos. The Browns won. I took the Ravens, but the Bengals won. I took the Panthers, but the Giants won. I took the Eagles, and the Raiders won. So yeah, so I'm 56-35 overall. So, and then the 3 players that I picked for fantasy, decided pick how many fantasy points that I go with these players. So I predicted Tom Brady was going to have 38 fantasy points this week because I thought, you know what, he's going to blow up against the Bears this week. And obviously, he had 24 points, which I missed it by 14. I picked Jonathan Taylor was going to have 29 fantasy points this week. He actually had 18. I missed it by 11. And this is the closest one I came to. Cooper Kupp, which is having a great year. You got to consider him maybe MVP. I predicted he was going to have 44 points. He ended up with 37, and I missed it by 7 points. Now, my 3 bold predictions for Week 7, I predicted at number 3, Tim Patrick was going to have 125 yards or more and 2 touchdowns. Well, he didn't do too good. He only had 16 yards and no touchdowns, which is unbelievable. I predicted Devontae Adams was going to have over 200 yards receiving. Not even close. He only had 76 yards in this game. And then I predicted Matt Stafford was going to have 400 yards and 3 touchdowns. Well, sort of got close. 334 and 3 touchdowns for Matt Stafford. So anyway, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. There's my Week 7 picks that I had, and 8-5 isn't too bad. So let's recap the scores for Week 7. And we're going to start off with the Thursday night game between the Browns and the Broncos, where the Browns defeated the Broncos 17-14. And I'm just kind of like thinking, what I was just like, at the end of this game, I was just kind of like,
Oh, how the hell did this happen? How the hell did this happen?
exactly, how did it happen? Basically, the Browns had no Nick Chubb, no Kareem Hunt, no Jarvis Landry. Odell got hurt early, came out of the game. No Baker Mayfield. And somehow the Browns pulled off a win. With the Broncos was pretty much full health except for Jerry Jeudy. I mean, Melvin Gordon played. Teddy Bridgewater was in there. Tim Patrick was in there. Von Miller was in there, obviously on defense. And somehow they blew this game, which is just crazy. Case Keenum went 21 for 33 for 199 yards. Dearness Johnson really stepped up. 22 carries for 146 yards and 1 touchdown. 24 fantasy points for Dearness Johnson. He had a huge game. I had him on my bench, and I kept debating. I was like, do I start Johnson or do I keep him on my bench? And I was like, oh yeah, there's no way this guy is going to come in and have a great running game against, Denver, who is a lot better and a lot healthier. Nope. I didn't start him on my starting lineup. Teddy Bridgewater went 23 for 33, 187 yards, 2 touchdowns. Cortland Sutton 3 catches for 68 yards. So the Browns moved to 4-3. The Broncos fall to 3-4. Next, we're going to move on to the Titans, which I cannot believe this game because the Bears didn't come on until 4:25. So I watched a lot of this Titans game and Chief game on NFL Red Zone, and I just don't believe it. I just can't believe the Titans just manhandled the Chiefs 27-3. Chief fans everywhere are like,
I am shocked and appalled.
Exactly. I just can't believe it. Like, the hit that Patrick Mahomes took, oh my God, it was so nasty. He just laid there with one arm up, and I'm like, oh my God, he's concussed big time. He can't even move. He's hurt bad. But he went out of the game. Chad Haney came in, but it looked like he was all right. I don't know. He's questionable going into this week's matchup, but the Titans just destroyed the Chiefs. You know what? I'm just going to make a bold prediction right now. I'm going to predict the Chiefs are going to miss the playoffs. Something is not clicking with the Chiefs. And I know Clyde Allaire is hurt. I don't know. Maybe that's it. Maybe Tyreek Hill's been banged up. Travis Kelce took a stinger. I don't think this team is 100%. And I just seem like there's too many other teams in the AFC who is getting hot or who are good, and I'm predicting Kansas City Chiefs is going to miss the playoff, which is crazy to even think about that. Kansas City might miss the playoffs this year. Ryan Tannehill went 21 for 27 for 270 yards and 1 touchdown. He had 19 fantasy points this week. Derrick Henry, he had a passing touchdown, which was crazy. I couldn't believe it. I honestly couldn't believe Derrick Henry passed for a touchdown. He had 29 carries for 86 yards. He had 16 fantasy points. A.J. Brown, 8 catches for 133 yards and 1 touchdown. Patrick Mahomes, 20 for 35 for just 206 yards and 7 fantasy points. 7 fantasy points. Let me repeat that like 2 more times. 7 fantasy points. 7 fantasy points. I bet you so many people got screwed on their fantasy team where they needed Patrick Mahomes to blow up, to win, to stay undefeated, to go 7-0 in their fantasy week, and I just don't know what happened to him out there. Brian Pringle, 5 catches for 73 yards. Tyreek Hill, 6 catches for 49 yards with 12 fantasy points. Travis Kelce, 7 catches for 65 yards and 13 fantasy points. The Titans moved to 5-2, which the Titans is looking good. You know, everybody's talking about all these other teams. Tennessee is a quiet 5-2 team, and the Chiefs fall to 3-4. The Packers defeated the Washington football team 24-10. Aaron Rodgers went 27 for 35 for 274 yards. A big game he had, 3 touchdowns. Aaron Jones 6 carries for 19 yards. Like, feed Aaron Jones. Like, why isn't Aaron... I know Washington's defense is really good, but maybe not as good as the last few weeks. But, man, they held Aaron Jones to 19 yards and only 8 fantasy points. Could you imagine if you're a fantasy owner and you had fucking Patrick Mahomes and Aaron Jones on the same team? Oh my God! You probably threw your laptop halfway out your front door into the street. Davante Adams, he had 6 catches for 76 yards and 1 touchdown. 19 fantasy points for Davante Adams. Taylor Heineke, 25 for 37 for 268 and 1 touchdown. 20 fantasy points. Not too bad. Terry McLaurin, huge game. 7 catches, 122 yards, 1 touchdown, 25 fantasy points. So the Packers moved to 6-1. Washington falls to 2-5, and then the Packers have a huge matchup against Arizona. And honestly, this was my upset pick of the week because I've been saying since week 4, maybe week 3, I'm like, okay, that week 8 matchup against Green Bay, that's when Arizona's going to get their first loss. But the way that Davante Adams has got COVID and he is not going to play, and now I end up dropping Christian Kirk. I think it was Christian Kirk for Lazard. I was like, oh yeah, it's going to be one of those sneaky plays where I'm going to hurry up and pick Lazard up before anybody else does because he's going to be number 1 receiver. Now he's not even going to play. So now I'm thinking, okay, this is the week Robert Tonyan is going to have a monster week and blow up when I already dropped Robert Tonyan on all my teams. He's probably going to have 33 fantasy points and 3 touchdowns and 190 yards in receiving. And I'm like, oh my God, are you fucking kidding me? It's just going to happen. But honestly, I give you my early pick. I see Arizona winning this game. There is no way Green Bay beats Arizona. We're going to move on to the Bengals, which the Bengals defeat the Ravens 41-17. Wow, the Bengals put 41 points up against Baltimore.
Holy shit! Oh, fuck!
Yeah, exactly. The Bengals, just like the Titans, 5-2. This is a good team. Jamar Chase, he should be up for MVP. Jamar Chase, everybody's like, well, he can't catch. How is this receiver from LSU going to play in the NFL and catch the ball? Because he's got Joe Burrow coming on him. He's going to win Rookie of the Year. I think he's a lock. I think it's either going to be him or it could be Najee Harris, but I think Jamar Chase is a lock for Rookie of the Year. Joe Burrow, 23 for 48, 416 yards, 3 touchdowns. And I'm telling you, if you need a backup quarterback, go get Joe Burrow right now before anybody picks him up. Jamar Chase, huge game, 8 catches, 201 yards, and 1 touchdown, 34 fantasy points. And I'm telling you what, ladies and gentlemen, I'm giving you my prediction right now. Jamar Chase is going to be the first receiver that comes off the board for me next year. I want Jamar Chase. He's going to get picked up before Davante Adams. He's going to get picked up before Stephon Diggs. He's going to get picked up before Deontay Johnson, Chase Claypool, Juju Smith-Schuster, Cole Beasley. I mean, I want Jamar Chase. I'm telling you what, man, if he does this, he's becoming like the next Tyreek Hill. I'm telling you, man. put Jamar Chase is going to be like high up in the boards for 2022 in fantasy football. It is insane what he's doing this year. Lamar Jackson, or I should say, also mentioned Joe Burrow had 26 fantasy points, 34 points by Jamar Chase. Holy cow. Lamar Jackson, 15 for 31 for 251 yards, 1 touchdown. He also had 12 rushes for 88 yards, 23 fantasy points for Lamar Jackson. Hollywood Marquise Brown, he had 5 catches for 80 yards and a touchdown, 19 fantasy points. And boy, just when you thought the Ravens offense was rolling, Cincinnati just spanks them and defeathers the Ravens. Oh my God. Like, is the Bengals the most dangerous talk about team? Because nobody's giving them any credit at all. Nobody's talking about the Bengals. Everybody's talking about Arizona. People's talking about the Rams. People's talking about Baltimore. Nobody is talking about the Bengals. It blows my mind how the Bears beat the Bengals, but they can't go around and beat Tampa Bay, which I know Tampa Bay is a much better team than Cincinnati, but still, Cincinnati's been hot. Cincinnati moves to 5-2, and the Ravens drop to 5-2. The Giants end up defeating the Panthers 25-3, and I'm just like, Panther fans are basically saying,
everything that guy just says bullshit.
Exactly. Well, maybe not bullshit, but Joe Pesci, I am telling you, that is the fact. The Panthers only scored 3 points against a brutal, banged-up Giants. Are you kidding me? Like, no Saquon Barkley, no Barkley, no Darius Slayton, I don't even think played. There was no Kenny Galladay. There was no Sterling Shepard. I don't even think Evan Ingram played. It is unbelievable how this Carolina team, who has Chubb Hubbard, who's stepping in pretty good. You have DJ Moore, who is playing really good. Sam Darnold's been up and down. Robbie Anderson hasn't been relative since last year, but still, you only scored 3 points against like a most injured Giants team? Oh my God. Daniel Jones, 23 for 33 for 203 yards and a touchdown, 17 fantasy points. Devontae Booker, 14 carries for 51 yards, 1 touchdown, 14 fantasy points. Sam Darnold, 16 for 25, 111 yards, who got benched by P.J. Walker. And Sam Darnold I started and only had 2 fantasy points. 2 points. That's all he had. I'm appalled. Like, I can't believe it. I can't believe it. DJ Moore, okay, he had a pretty decent game. 6 catches for 73 yards, 13 fantasy points, but that's pretty much the highlight for the Panthers right there. The Giants moved to 2-5, the Panthers fall to 3-4, and that's gotta be a wake-up call. That's gotta be a wake-up call for the Panthers. Like, you only score 3 points against, like, an injured, dismantled Giants team. This is probably even worse than the Bears loss to Tampa Bay. Because mostly every fantasy football player, every football in the right mind is going to be like, oh yeah, whoa, that Bears offense. How are they gonna score points against Tampa Bay's defense and that awesome Tampa Bay offense? Like, this Carolina Panthers team was not thinking about the Giants. They were like, oh yeah, we're gonna steamroll the Giants, and that didn't happen, which is unbelievable. I just can't fucking believe it. Like, this one just blows my mind how the Panthers only scored 3 freaking points. The Falcons beat the Dolphins 30-28. Matt Ryan went 25 for 40, 336, 2 touchdowns, 17 fantasy points for Matt Ryan. Cordell Patterson, 14 carries for 60 yards and a touchdown, 14 fantasy points for him. Mike Davis, 4 carries for 10 yards, 1 point. And I'm just like, oh my God, could you imagine you had Patrick Mahomes, you fucking had Mike Davis on that team. Unbelievable. I'm dropping him. I'm done with Mike Davis. Kyle Pitts, really good game. 7 catches for 163 yards. Kyle Pitts is heating up. 23 fantasy points. Tua, 32 for 40, 291 yards. 4 freaking touchdowns for Tua. Wow. Myles Gaskins, 15 carries for 67 yards. 17 fantasy points for Myles Gaskins. 26 points for Tua. Jalen Waddle, another really good game. 7 catches for 83 yards and 15 fantasy points. The Falcons moved to 3-3. The Dolphins dropped to 1-6. And still no news on the whole Deshaun Watson, Dolphins, and Texans trade. Now it seems like Carolina's in the mix. So what does that mean if they get Deshaun Watson? Well, Sam Darnold is going to be the backup to Watson. You are not starting Sam Darnold over Watson. Does that mean because you know Watson is going to be the quarterback for Carolina if he goes to Carolina for many years to come. You lock him up. You give Deshaun Watson like a 7-year contract. Give him big money. Darnold's going to end up somewhere else. Again, he left the Jets to go to Carolina. Carolina's going to probably put him in a trade and get maybe a 2nd-round draft pick, maybe a 3rd-round draft pick. I don't know. Sam Darnold to Washington. How about that? If Washington doesn't get Tua in the trade. The Patriots they spanked the Jets 54-13. Mac Jones, 24 for 36, 307 yards and 2 touchdowns. Damian Harris, 14 carries for 106 yards, 2 touchdowns. Brandon Bolden, 6 catches for 70 yards, 1 touchdown. Kendrick Bourne, he even had a passing touchdown. It was crazy. We had 2 receivers one running back, 1 receiver who threw for a touchdown. Zach Wilson, 6 for 10, 51 yards. He got rocked. He got hurt. Matt Smith came in, who was a or I should say, did I say Mike? I don't know what name I just said. I don't know what I said. Let me say that again. Mike White came in, who was a 5th-round draft pick of the Dallas Cowboys in 2018. No experience at all. Went 20 for 32 for 202 yards and 1 touchdown. What about Mike White? He looked so much better than Zach Wilson did. Does that mean something? Like, is Zach Wilson going to ride the bench for a while for Mike White? Well, this was some breaking news last night that I didn't really kind of get on TikTok and talk about, but Joe Flacco is officially going back to the Jets. I'm just curious if Joe Flacco is going to start this week for the Jets. I don't know. Mike White didn't look too bad. So yeah, I don't know. It's the quarterback situation in New York is very interesting. Patriots moved to 3-4. The Jets dropped to 1-5. Well, the Raiders defeated the Eagles 33-22. Derek Carr, 31 for 34 for 323 and 2 touchdowns, 19 fantasy points. Kenyon Drake had 14 carries for 69 yards and 1 touchdown, 16 fantasy points for Kenyon. Josh Jacobs, 6 carries for 29 yards and 1 touchdown, 15 fantasy points for Josh Jacobs. Jalen Hurst, well, he went 18 for 34 for 236 and 2 touchdowns. He also had 13 rushes for 61 yards, 23 fantasy points. Jalen Hurst is really playing good. Devontae Smith, 5 catches for 61 yards and 11 points. And let me just say, like, one of my friends was saying about, like, oh, how about Deshaun Watson to the Eagles, or the Eagles in the mix? And I just, not a heated debate, but I'm just like, why would they want to get Deshaun Watson? I know Deshaun Watson is a better quarterback than Jalen Hurts, but Jalen Hurts is playing really good. You know, let's not throw Jalen Hurts under the bus. You know, it's like, what would that do to his psyche? You know, Jalen Hurts been riding, you know, it's been a backup for Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz leaves the Colts for the Colts. Jalen Hurts is probably thinking, okay, I'm the next one to start. The Eagles were thinking about going out to get another key quarterback because they weren't sure if Jalen Hurts was going to play, if he's the right guy for the Eagles. But I think he is. I honestly just feel like, no, don't go out and get Deshaun Watson. I disagree with you, Corey, throwing your name out there. I disagree. I think Jalen Hurts is a young, good quarterback who's only going to get better. You know, I think it would be terrible for Eagles to go out to get a different quarterback when Jalen Hurts is playing really good this year. So that's my opinion. I think you're wrong because I just feel like he could fit somewhere else, you know, somewhere else. Eagles can build their defense. They can get an offensive line. They get a couple good other receivers. They get a decent running back. Dallas Goedert is a good tight end. If they can fill in those holes, Eagles is a dangerous team with Jalen Hurts. They should stick with Jalen Hurts. Devontae Smith, 5 catches, 61 yards, 11 fantasy points. The Raiders moved to 5-2. The Eagles fall to 2-5. The Rams, wow, let me tell you what, man, this matchup between the Rams and the Lions was interesting. The Lions were up, and I was watching Red Zone, and I was just like, are you fucking kidding me? I was like, the Lions are up in this game, and I know it was early, but still, DeAndre Swift had a huge freaking run in this game for a touchdown. But the Rams came back and defeated the Lions. It's Matt Stafford's revenge game. Matt Stafford went 28 for 41, 334, 3 touchdowns, 27 big fantasy points. Darrell Henderson, 15 carries for 45 yards, 9 fantasy points. Cooper Kupp, possibly the MVP this year, 10 catches for 156 yards and 2 touchdowns, 37 fantasy points. Jared Goff on the other side of the ball, 22 for 36, 268, 1 touchdown, 11 points. Khalif Raymond, 6 catches, 115 yards, 17 fantasy points for Khalif. How many people had Khalif in their starting lineup? The Rams moved to 6-1. The Lions, well, they're still winless. They're 0-7, and the Rams isn't the team to give the Lions their first win. We are going to leave the Buccaneers and Bears game to the very end. And you're probably thinking, whoa, they didn't play on Sunday night or Monday night. I've got a lot to talk about in this game. So we're going to leave this game to the very end. We're going to move on to the Cardinals and Texans game, which the Cardinals defeated the Texans 31-5. Basically, there was nothing good on the Texans side of the ball. Kyler Murray, for 28, 261, 3 touchdowns, 21 fantasy points. Chase Edmonds, 15 carries for 81 yards, 10 fantasy points. James Conner, 10 carries for 64 yards and a touchdown, 12 fantasy points. Zach Ertz, well, he got his first touchdown as a Cardinal. 3 catches for 66 yards and a touchdown, 16 fantasy points. Pretty good for Zach Ertz. I think it was smart for the Cardinals to go out and get Zach Ertz. Very good tight end. David Mills, 23 for 32 for 135 yards, 3 fantasy points. And David Johnson, 7 carries for 25 yards and 10 fantasy points. Cardinals stay undefeated. I think they're going to go 8-0. I don't see any way, shape, or form Green Bay knocks off the Cardinals. The Cardinals is the hottest team in the NFL, and that hot streak continues this weekend. Now the Sunday night game. The Colts defeated the 49ers 30-18. I'll just tell you right now, I did not watch the Sunday night game or the Monday night game. Carson Wentz went 17 for 26, 150 yards, 2 touchdowns, 20 fantasy points for Carson Wentz. Jonathan Taylor, really good game, 18 carries for 107 yards and a touchdown, 18 fantasy points for him. Michael Pittman, hey, he's available. He's owned in 85% of leagues, but in some leagues, he's still out there. If you need a receiver that's hurt or on a bye, go out and get Michael Pittman, 20 fantasy points, 4 catches for 105 yards and a touchdown. On the 49ers side of the ball, Jimmy G, 16 for 27 for 101 yards and 1 touchdown. Elijah Mitchell, really good game. 18 carries for 107 yards, 1 touchdown, 16 fantasy points. And I'm thinking about maybe picking back up Elijah Mitchell. And Deebo Samuel, 7 catches for 100 yards, 1 touchdown, 21 fantasy points. Trey Lance was hurt in this game. The Colts moved to 3-4. 49ers dropped to 2-4. And now the Monday night game where the Saints defeated the Seahawks 13-10. Jameis Winston, 19 for 35, 222 yards, 1 touchdown, 16 fantasy points for him. Alvin Kamara doing Kamara things, 20 carries, 51 yards, 10 catches, 128 yards, 1 touchdown, 33 fantasy points. And I'm telling you, if I've got the number 1 or number 2 pick, it's going to be Kamara or it's going to be Derrick Henry for me next year. Geno Smith, 12 for 22, 167 yards and 1 touchdown, 11 fantasy points for Geno Smith. DK Metcalf, 2 catches for 96 yards and a touchdown, 17 fantasy points. And Tyler Lockett, where was he in this game? 2 catches for 12 yards, 3 fantasy points? Unbelievable. The Saints moved to 4-2 and the Seahawks fall to 2-5. And another team that nobody's talking about is the Saints. And Michael Thomas was supposed to come back in this game, so I'm guessing maybe he wasn't ready. So he's going to wait to maybe week 8. So it'd be interesting to see if Michael Thomas comes back in week 8. And I'm thinking, I have Sam Darnold, and I'm obviously dropping him. I'm done with Sam Darnold. I'm going to do something really risky and very tricky this week. I am picking up Geno Smith and going to start him. And then you're probably thinking, are you out of your fucking mind? Like, what the fuck is matter with you? Well, they are playing Jacksonville. And Jacksonville is a mess. And I feel like if you have any Seahawks players, or is it Cleveland? Give me 3 seconds. It is. I had to double check. Sorry about that. It is the Jaguars. Now, what I was continuing to say, I'm going to pick up Geno Smith, and I'm going to start him. I just feel like if Geno Smith is going to blow up and surprise a lot of people, this is the week he's going to do it. I'm not saying Geno Smith is going to have 33 points. I'm not saying Geno Smith is going to have 25 points. If Geno Smith can give me like 22, 21 fantasy points, I will be happy. I will be honestly happy. Alex Collins, he's healthy. Chris Carson's not ready to come back. Alex Collins could blow up. DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett is going to have a Thanksgiving dinner buffet shit fest on the fucking Jaguars. If you've got Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf on your team, I would start them. I honestly think both of them's going to have 33 fantasy points. They are going to blow up in this game. Now we can get to the Bucs and the Bears. And you know what? I don't know where to start. If I should start stats. I'm just like, every Bears player to Tom Brady and to fucking... No, not even to Tom Brady. I have nothing against him. But to every fucking player on the Chicago Bears right now, this is what I gotta say to you.
This is where the other side of the finger comes from. This is for you, you turds.
Exactly. I am embarrassed. I am appalled. I am still sick to my stomach. Like, I had like 92 fucking Taco Bell tacos, and I was like having a Buttageddon and a shitacane. It's not a hurricane, a shitacane, and I was shitting all night. Like, honestly, like, I am sick to my stomach. 38-3. Now, I knew this wasn't going to be close, but honestly, 3 points. 3 points. This game was over in 3 minutes and 2 seconds. The game was over in the first quarter. Everything fell apart between the play calling to Justin Fields thinking that there was 2 weeks in a row that someone in their headset was like, there's 12 men on the field for Green Bay, for the fucking Buccaneers. This is a free play, and it wasn't the case. 2 weeks in a row. When has that ever happened? When 2 weeks in a row up there's like, hey, 12 men on the field, 12 men on the field, go! Like, I'm lost for words. Like, you couldn't even go down there and kick a field goal. Like, any more field goals. Or score a touchdown. The offense line was terrible. The defense was terrible. It's not against Justin Fields, because it's the one who's coming in the... Justin Fields got hit a couple times, which just... I'm like, I don't even know how he's still walking. Like, I don't know how he didn't break every bone in his body. Like, you know, the McCaskies was at that game. Like, honestly, how do you look at that game and you're just like, you know what? We're good with Matt Nagy going into the San Francisco game. Like, how doesn't him and Bill Lazors and Desai, how did they not have red slips in their mailbox Monday morning? Can someone please explain that to me? Not like Lance Briggs said in the after show, the Bears don't typically fire coaches until Black Monday after the last game of the season. Well, you know what? They need to change it up, because that he needs to be gone. Monday morning, it should have been on First Take. It should have been on NFL Network. It should have been on PBS. It should have been on Nickelodeon. It should have been on A&E. It should have been on MTV. It should have been on Lifetime. It should have been on any channel that's saying breaking news, Matt Nagy is fired. This is what we should have got Monday morning. Now, let's just say San Francisco, okay, they don't have George Kittle for a while. San Francisco is not the greatest team. They're definitely a lot lesser than Tampa Bay. But if, oh, God, I feel my blood boiling and I'm getting mad. Like, if San Francisco comes into Chicago, and I'm telling you, it's a disaster game. It's 41-3 again. It's 38-3 again 2 weeks in a row. If it's 41-10, if it's 47-7, he's gone. Matt Nagy is gone after the game. How do you keep Matt Nagy after the game during the San Francisco game after the big loss if it happens? Now, if they win, obviously, okay, yeah, it's a different story. Matt Nagy keeps his job if they beat San Francisco. But then they got Pittsburgh coming in, Monday Night Football, then the Ravens, which, oh my God, even a broken down Big Ben could beat the Chicago team. And the Ravens, oh my God, I don't even want to think what that offense is going to do to Chicago with Lamar Jackson, Mark Andrews, Marquise Brown. Fucking probably Latavius Murray will probably have 2 touchdowns and like 130 yards rushing. Oh my God. Oh my God. It's just like, and Matt Nagy is just like, we got to fix up the I know he's like, and we know we've got to fix up the communications, and this is not acceptable. It's the same bullshit each week, the same bullshit. That's like Alex Brown said, there should have been 23 red slips in the Bears mailbox Monday morning. Tom Brady, 20 for 36, 211 yards, 4 touchdowns, 24 fantasy points. Man, Tom Brady is having a great fantasy year. Leonard Fournette, 15 carries, 81 yards, a touchdown, 17 fantasy points. Chris Godwin, 8 catches, 111 yards, 1 touchdown, 25 fantasy points for him. Mike Evans, boy, did he go off finally after I fucking traded him. Geez, 6 catches, 76 yards, 3 touchdowns. But I wonder if he would have gone off if Gronk and AB was playing. I don't think he would have. Justin Fields, 1 fantasy point. My God, 22 for 32, 184 yards, 3 interceptions. Khalil Herbert, fantastic. I'm picking Khalil Herbert up in a few teams. 18 carries, 100 yards, 18 fantasy points. And I just feel like, man, Khalil Herbert, I can't wait till David Montgomery comes back. But I'm just hoping, good things for David Montgomery when he comes back. You got Khalil Herbert, who's, I think, should be the second string running back. But this is in my 46 years, I've never seen a blowout like this. Like, honestly, I've never seen anything like this, even with when Jay Cutler was there. Like, I am fucking appalled. All right. Oh, I should also say the Bucs move to 6-1 and the Bears fall to 3-4. Now we are going to decide, or actually I said I've already decided, who could be the player or players or teams, which I have done teams before, who'll get the, hey, it's the NFL Guys Podcast Player of the Week. So Jimmy Baba Ganoush, can you hit that drum roll? So, the NFL, hey, the NFL Players Game of the Week is the Bengals offense. Man, they look so good. Joe Burrow, 23 for 38, 416 yards, 3 touchdowns, 26 fantasy points. Jamar Chase, 8 catches, 201 yards, 1 touchdown, 34 fantasy points. Boy, congratulations, Bengals, for a great offense, and congratulations for being, hey, it's the NFL Guys Podcast Game of the Week, Player of the Week. Okay, now we get to maybe, this player should have stayed in and watched all 3 seasons of Daredevil and all 2 seasons of Luke Cage and watch some Iron Fist and Golden Girls and Night Court and Deadly Class and Friends and Party of 5 and 90210, all the scenes of SpongeBob and Adventure Time and the 90s X-Men and the Ninja Turtles from the 80s and He-Man, and maybe played some Cyberpunk and do a Marvel marathon and watch all the DC movies and maybe wash your dishes and swept the floor and go out and clean up the backyard and wash your car and go to the movies. Maybe they should have done a lot more of those things than maybe showed up and played football on Sunday. Well, you know what, ladies and gentlemen, this was an easy choice for me. Definitely, it was the Bears' offense, defense, just everything in general, from the guy who gives the Gatorade to the players to everything. Nothing good about this Bears game. This loss was there was nothing good about this game. So congratulations, my Chicago Bears, for being, hey, you guys should have stayed in bed and never showed up to play football on Sunday. Well, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. Let's hit it again. I guess we're hitting it again. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, that does it for me tonight. Let's just hope that, if you're a Carolina fan, if you're a Kansas City fan, if you're a Bears fan, if you're a Lions fan, if you're a Jacksonville Jaguar fan, let's just hope that, better outcomes are going to be in Week 8. So anyway, I'll do my Week 8 picks tomorrow night and give you my thoughts on everything. What I'm picking, my 3 bold predictions, my 3 fantasy players, talk a little fantasy football. And yeah, so anyway, until tomorrow, hope you guys and gals and everyone have a great night. Take care and talk to you soon.